Hi, I'm Tessa Booth from Arm & Style, and today we're talking about who is in charge of your safety. We all have someone in our lives that we love that we would hope could become more equipped to protect themselves. Whether that's a spouse, a parent, a child, or a friend, you might be looking for ways to encourage them to take their safety into their own hands by choosing to carry tools like a firearm, pepper spray, or simply by learning ways that they can be more aware of their surroundings. It wasn't that long ago that I was the one who didn't have any mental or physical tools for self-defense. And it was actually my husband who wanted to encourage me to become more responsible for my own safety. Now, I'm very much of the belief that we can't simply convince those that we care about to do this or that, especially when it comes to making big lifestyle changes like carrying a firearm. However, I do think that there are some things we can do to encourage them and support them as they consider those things for themselves. Before we get into some of the tips on this topic though, I want to address an overarching theme that I've noticed. I think it's fair to say that we all have some kind of story that led us to living a lifestyle of awareness and safety consciousness. Maybe we grew up around our elders setting an example for us, or maybe we experienced something traumatic that woke us up to the realities of our current world. Either way, we probably identified that there was a problem to be solved, whether that was conscious or subconscious. The problem being that violence is a fact of life that we may have to come in direct contact with. And then we ask ourselves how we might try to solve that problem for ourselves. Maybe you decided to carry tools. Maybe you decided to learn a martial art, or simply consume information that might help you mentally prepare for or simply avoid a situation like that. Either way, you saw a problem that needed solving and you solved it how you saw fit. The same thing goes for the loved ones around you that you would like to encourage to become more responsible for their own safety. Maybe they haven't fully realized the problem itself. Maybe they haven't figured out their answer to that problem. But either way, you can't simply convince them. You can, however, be a support and an encouragement. So here are 3 tips you can use to encourage your loved ones to put their safety into their own hands. My first tip is to simply practice what you preach. If you want to encourage a loved one to be aware of their surroundings or to consistently carry tools in a responsible manner, then you should definitely be doing that for yourself. This seems like a pretty simple tip, but I think it's easily the most important one out of all 3. If we don't start by first setting an example, how can we then expect our loved ones to follow suit? My second tip is to make it fun when possible. For example, shooting can be a really fun activity, but it can also be extremely stressful, loud, and even frightening for the novice. It's really important that you put a novice shooter into a pleasant environment for their first several trips to the range. I remember my first range trips, I really only had the mental capacity to consume about 20 to 30 minutes tops on the range. There was so much newness being introduced to me that any longer than that, and I'd really start to mentally check out. Keep that in mind as you make those initial introductions to self-defense tools with your loved ones. Maybe even consider offering to send them to a private instructor. Oftentimes, we learn new skills much better from people we aren't emotionally involved with. My third and final tip is to be mindful of how we communicate. Be an encouragement, not a nag. When you love someone, you want them to be safe, and you're trying to encourage them to take their safety into their own hands with repetitions. And it's coming from a place of love, but over a period of time, it can be perceived as nagging, even though your heart is in the right place. At the end of the day, remember that no matter what you hope to encourage someone in, you can really only do just that. Be an encouragement and be a support for those around you, and they will be much more willing to consider the ideas that are valuable to you. Check out the description box below for more resources, and if you gained value out of this video, you can find me at my channel, Arm & Styled.